So I want to talk about your online visibility and specifically about Google Hotel Finder and how to get the most out of that to get more bookings for you. If you've seen any of our stuff over time, you would have seen me talk about, I guess, Google, the Google architecture, and the way to get the most out of those results, and that your online visibility is so important to be able to be found and ultimately booked online. So what I want to try and do today, but is give you a little bit of a shortcut as to how to get the best out of Google Hotel Finder itself. There's so many moving parts within this space, and I just want to give you the insights and the areas that you need to be looking at to be trying to improve in this area, and see if you can pick up some tips along the way to find that low-hanging fruit. So let's just start with a little bit of Google architecture. Now, we're going to use as a bit of a test case on most of this today a property that used to be mine. Actually, we sold it recently, and it's called Revive Central Apartments, and it's in the city of Temora. You know, it's a great little town, but it is a small country town, and it probably simplifies the search results to a large degree when it comes to Google because it is such a small town. However, that's great for these demonstrations, so we can actually show you what actually works here. So we have a look at this about Temora. Now I'm going to write accommodation, and the reason I'm writing the word specifically accommodation is that accommodation is the key term in Australia that is the most dominant when it comes to searches for accommodation and hotels and motels. So yes, I could put in there Temora hotels, Temora motels, but I just know by fact that it's the dominant search term in Australia. Now, other countries like in Southeast Asia and areas like that, hotels is the dominant word. So you're just going to be very mindful of that as you're doing this around the globe. The first thing I really want to probably have a quick look at here is that Temora accommodation. You can see here that it's come up with the Google Hotel Finder function. That's the part we're going to be diving into today. So that's the 4-pack, which is, I guess, been inherited or I guess evolved from what we call like Google local search or driven by your Google My Business function. But ultimately, whenever any search term has accommodation or hotel or motel related to it, it just morphs it differently, and it presents the information in a little bit different fashion, and you see some of the filters we have up the top here. So I just want to flick off to another page here. I've just opened up an incognito window, and I'm just going to search another, like a major city here, just to show you the architecture of Google. So what we're seeing here is the first thing that comes up is 4 ads from Google, and I'm sure if you've seen some of my stuff, I've talked about this Google architecture. So the first thing is there's always 4 slots here, and you can see book.com, Trivago, What If, and then there's someone direct. So Meriton Suites in Brisbane is actually bidding on Google on key terms, on the key term Brisbane accommodation, and actually playing there. Now, we typically don't advise people to play in this space. Sometimes there's a cause for it, but that's case by case. It's typically you've got to have a really high performing website. You've really got to know your cost per click and your conversion rates on your website to be able to make the maths work on this, because you're competing against the big boys, and they've got way bigger budgets than any of us ever have. So as we scroll down, you can see, as I mentioned before, the Google Hotel 4-pack, Google Hotel Finder, and then below that we have all the organic results. And yep, sure, we'd love to appear there, but again, What If, Booking.com, Trivago, Last Minute, TripAdvisor, Expedia, hotels combined, Visit Brisbane, all the big boys that they've got the budgets to actually put into organic and into their SEO efforts, typically dominate this space. We'd love to be there, but it's not often the case. And you know, if you're any sort of normal person in the world, we know that if you live on the second page of Google, if we got all down at the bottom here and wanted to go to the second page, well, you're virtually non-existent. Not many people actually go through there. So we've really got to try and be on this first page. So how do people find us as a property, as an individual property? Now, they can go here. They might land here on one of the big boys. They might go down here on one of the big boys. And that's okay, because when they go off to the big boys, what tends to happen is if they find us on one of the OTAs, for example, if they do find us, they like what they see, they will tend to come to our direct website. And they're either hopefully going to book us via the OTA, or preferably book us via a direct booking, which would be fabulous. Here is the stuff I'm talking about today and how we're going to be able to optimize in this area here. So let me take you back now to a more simplified example. So I've searched tomorrow accommodation, and here's my old property here. We've got the Revive Central Paths. It's just a very small property, but it's a great little example to use. And I guess here's lesson number one, that we've got an external picture of the property, another external picture of the property, which don't really evoke too much emotion to me at all. And not patting myself on the back, but we've used directly the picture of the bedroom, nice strong background there that we use, some lighting, and you hope that maybe just by using that image, we're more inclined to get clicked on from there than had we went over to the other, over to one of the bookings. Now, the booker potentially has the opportunity to look at further properties, like if you 16 properties in total there, and start to scan through. And again, you can see how the image is so important. Having your reviews is really important as well. While our review volumes there are only 12, there's having a 5 actually helps. It's just that quick subconscious decision of, hey, that must be okay. And again, looking here, external photos, that's a nice photo, external photo, external photos, external photos. So, it's been a really good technique to actually stand out by having a look at what the competitors are doing and having a photo that actually appeals. Once you're in this point here, you can sort of scroll through and see some of the other photos there. Again, I've stuck to interiors a lot there, photos with appeal. And you just got to check out what your competitors are doing. So that's okay. Now I'm going to do a slightly different search here. I'm actually going to put in my direct name of the property, Revive Central Apartments. So somebody knows about your business, they actually search the business. So what happens now is, rather than it coming up with the 4-pack and thinking I'm searching for accommodation in tomorrow, it's actually giving me everything obviously related to Revive Central Apartments. And your Google listing sits over here, but it appears somewhat different because there's more real estate we can work with. Okay, so I can see the reviews there. I can see that photo. I can go in and click on more photos and have a look through them. But I actually get a bit of a snapshot on rates here as well. Now, so a few things happening. First of all, where we'd like the guests to go is to actually go to our website, because that is a direct booking. It's commission free, and that's ultimately where we want them to be. But to the untrained eye, it's not obvious to go there. And there's a few traps here. You can see, I wouldn't mind booking that one there. And ultimately, all of these will take you off directly through to the OTA. All right. So that's not necessarily where we'd love them to go, but hey, it's better than going there than not. Now, if we did go there, for instance, unfortunately, it opens up another tab, and it's great that we're there and we can go through and check availability and whatever, but it puts us back against our competitors, and this is the risk. You can see the competitors there with pricing and all the flash ups and pop-ups of how many rooms are left and all those enticements that Booking.com use to get you to make a decision. Yes, we're sitting up top, but we're up against it there. So there is a risk that, while there's a thought process that, yes, at 129, we'll take the booking and pay the commission. That's great, but we'd rather it if they went to the website. Now, they may go off to Booking.com, have a look there, and then they may, and this is actually proven to occur, they may go back onto your own direct website and actually check the rates are the same there. And so that's where your website being, really easy to use, really beautiful imagery, a booking engine that functions really, really well, and you're always offering the best possible rate on your own website. It actually helps you capture more and more of those direct bookings. So we want you to be there, but it's not obvious to click on that website button. It's more obvious to click here when you're seeing an appealing rate, or you might even go here, and you might think by checking availability here, you might think that you're actually starting to book direct with the hotel, but you're not. You're actually just taking a deeper dive into this pricing module that sits within Google Hotel Finder. Now, just from an educational point of view, what's actually happening here, for those that aren't aware, this is like a meta search function. So if everyone's seen the ads for for Trivago, where Trivago go out and they use their automation and their robots to go out and scan the world for the best possible rates for that particular property in that particular room. This is the exact same thing. You know, that what Trivago do, that's called meta search. This is the exact same thing. But the trick within meta search is it's not just scanning the net to get those to get the publicly available rates. It's doing that, but it's also doing a bidding process. So very much like Google Ads operates, and people bid more and more to sit at the top and appear for a particular search term. These providers, Booking.com, What If Hotel, they're all bidding to actually be at the top of the list. So Booking.com's obviously bidding more at the moment to outrank these other ones at the top for this particular property. So they're competing there, all right? And basically, depending on how good your website is, you just want to leave these guys to it because they're bidding. You know, we think, you know, there's often this temptation to try and get free exposure and free marketing in all businesses. You know, we want organic listings because it's free, but organic is not free. There's so much work that has to go in to get your listings up organically. That is actually not free. Just like Google Ads isn't free, and same here, to appear in these meta search results, it's not free for these providers. Now, we can compete in this space if we choose, but that's called a Google Hotel ad, and ultimately these are Google Hotel ads as well. And you can do that, and there's examples that we could bring up that show you what that looks like, where actually I had this up here before. So this is the Google Hotel ads official landing page, which talks you through it. But you can see here basically what it is here, and it's not all that clear, but this is on a mobile device, and it's come up here, and basically instead of saying hotels.com or booking.com, it actually says the James Chicago official site. All right, so you can actually have that there. And ultimately, what you're really doing there is actually sending people direct to your website, just like the website button would normally do, to sell that rate. And you can have a cheaper rate there if you like. The trick is that it's not free, because you need, you know, most independent hoteliers are going to need a third-party vendor. Ones like Rivato, Indeed is a great Australian company that does it, and you need these third-party providers to actually do the intricate setup and help you with the bidding. And there's a couple of different bidding strategies you can take, but there's a lot in it. Typically, you're probably still going to be paying around, you know, 8 to 10, maybe even 12% of the cost of the booking to actually get that click through and get that to function for you there and to get that booking ultimately. So there's some appeal to try and do that, but you just need to have a really high performing website that converts reliably, really well, to actually make that worth your spend. So again, back to my point, by appearing in here, you're actually not, it's actually not free. The only true free platform, free mechanism to leverage off Google is to have a great website, to appear, you know, have a really polished Google My Business listing, to have your listings appear and people find you within the Google Hotel Finder, and then clicking on the website button. That's the place where you want to be. One other tip I'll probably provide before I wind this little bit of training up is that when you're here, you know, you really want to have what we call rate parity. So you can see here in particular, this is 129, 131. That's really just probably a rounding issue that's happening there more than anything, but that's near enough to the same. However, what I will say is that when you don't have rate parity with your public channels, it's just another little psychological trigger that I guess removes trust from the potential booker. And if they see varying rates all over the place, just like they can easily see that on those sites like Trivago, it takes the trust away. And it's just one thing when I do, there's so many things that you can make someone change their decision to be on your site or to be on your listing. Just can be the smallest things. And so we've got to bring all those barriers down as best we can. So look, I hope that has been helpful for you to actually understand the architecture around Google My Business listings, or what they call Google Hotel Finder for the accommodation sector, and how to try and maximize that the best for you. Any questions, load them down below, and we'll try and get back to you. And we wish you all the very best.